The world is solidifying, but to what end? There is a movement happening in this world. Society is somehow moving towards a more rigid state, towards definitive, decisive ways that can be clearly defined. Technology is advancing every day, and with social media connecting everyone, humans have evolved to assume that knowledge is something that can grasp with both hands if they try hard enough. With all their might, they explore the world, sharing every bit of knowledge they have with each other. And then voila, we have the illusion that knowledge can be accessed at any time, like a fruit ready to serve humanity day and night. No matter how wonderful this may seem, it is not true. A truly knowledgeable person knows that he is a fool. An experienced person knows that knowledge is always insufficient. And when knowledge is mixed with pride and inexperience, it gives rise to ignorance. But how do we detect this ignorance, which arises from the very knowledge that we're supposed to eradicate it? People are slowly moving away from soft knowledge, the kind of knowledge that begins to accumulate when we acknowledge our own ignorance. Soft knowledge encompasses areas such as soft human behavior, psychology, economics, teenage development, social interactions, justice, and equality. Even the definition of freedom is changing. Soft knowledge is important. The moment you acknowledge that you do not know everything is the moment you start gathering true knowledge. But knowledge is never enough. So we'll never know everything. This is precisely why every decision we make has both pros and cons. You can justify your reasons, but you cannot escape the fact that your understanding is limited by your current knowledge, and therefore, your decisions are always flawed to some extent. This is fundamental limitation of human society, and we must acknowledge it. It is our weakness that we cannot see through everything. Let's talk about freedom. Is the ability to do whatever you want truly freedom? If so, that means the definition of freedom differs from person to person. A person who wants to cook will ask for the freedom to cook whatever they want. A person who wants to trade will ask for the freedom to trade anything. A person who wants to rule will ask for the freedom to rule everyone. But is this not the very definition of power? Since when has freedom transformed into power? The answer is, it always has been this way. People are driven by power, and power finds a way to return to the hands of those who desire it. So, people seek to acquire power in the name of freedom. In a democracy, the majority decides the rules. In autocracy, the rules are decided by one person. Yet, regardless of the system, whether it is democracy, autocracy, communism, or any other form of governance, modern society is slowly shifting towards the concentration of power in the hands of a few while restricting the freedom of everyone else. The approach may differ, but the outcome remains the same. The world is witnessing a decline in birth rates. The standard of living is deteriorating. A society that should be supporting the next generation has become so expensive that young people hesitate to start families. If we are not thinking about our next generation, then what is society for? Are we not heading towards our own demise? Let's take the example of art. Art is a form of expression. Dance is also a form of expression. Music too is a form of expression. Language, though a medium of communication, is a means to express one's feeling. We express ourselves so that others can understand. It is this very connection that gives everything purpose. Yet, what have we done? We have fragmented music into 1,000 different forms. We have divided dance into countless styles. We have broken down understanding into specialized subjects. And then we consider ourselves masters for knowing only one. This is the reason we ignore poverty, we ignore our neighbor, We ignore our community. Slowly, society is breaking into isolated individuals, people who live their lives separately, independently, and alone, thinking only about their own survival. Look at our society. Look at the future. It's so lonely. Think about the younger generations. As a society, we have enough resources to help everyone. Yet, instead of distributing these resources, we have concentrated power into the hand of a few. And although we live in abundance, we do not share. Power manifests in many forms: the power of suppression, the power of money and economics, power of law, power of hunger, power of social acceptance and perception, power of appearance, power of religion, power of governance, and power of ignorance. Even knowledge, when concentrated in the hand of few, becomes a powerful tool for oppression. As you can see, power exists in abundance. Why? Because power exists only when powerlessness exists. Money is powerful because someone else has none. A better economy dominates a weak economy. Government have power because it is not equally distributed. A power of perception forces people to prioritize how they appear to society rather than who they truly are. And all of this has one common root. The true enemy of power is freedom. Freedom is not just about escaping physical chain or prisons. A person is free only when they are free from these very thoughts. One cannot be free from hunger, but if they have enough to eat, they are free from its grasp. One cannot be free from social expectations, but if they do not care about what others perceive them, social perception loses their power over them. Power works like a spider web. If your mind is not free, you will never create new things. If you do not rely on money, then money becomes powerless. If you are not ignorant, if you study well, you will know where to direct your effort for the greatest impact. You will understand what you are capable of and what you truly deserve. You will see how you can change society. This freedom of thought cannot exist in isolation. You can only be free if those around you are free. Only then can this freedom empower people to help each other. Without this freedom, people will live in fear, and those who are fearful will always submit. It is not that people in power are not afraid. They fear losing power. Fear that it may return to the very people they ruled. That is why it is said that power is the tool of cowards. If you think back, every human achievement, every milestone in society was accomplished by those who were free in their mind and who dared to think about the possibilities the world has to offer. And true freedom has always been granted by these achievements. Modern technology exists not to isolate humans, but to connect them. Yet, in modern society, intellectuals are perceived as elites, people who enjoy privileges, live fulfilling life, and pretend to be knowledgeable. Why do we define who is an intellectual? Why do we create divisions? Being intellectual is not a status symbol. Anyone can be intellectual. It is our responsibility to seek help from those who can offer it. And it is equally our responsibility to recognize who can help us. Do you truly believe we have solved all our problems? Of course not. Our problems remain, not because they cannot be solved, but because we have divided society into so many small fragments that the fragments itself has become the problem. If we solve that, we will solve many other issues as well. Due to the lack of freedom, the world is becoming rigid. Governments are becoming inflexible. Economic divides are widening. New ideas are being ignored. Science itself is being disregarded. Leaders are being glorified as gods. Enemies are being fabricated. We foolishly believe that solving one major problem will transform the world into a paradise. But maybe the paradise we imagine is wrong. Maybe our neighbors are not our enemies. Maybe our art lacks meaning because we focus too much on its price. This is fear. And where there is fear, there is no freedom. If you are not free, how can society be free? A society that lacks freedoms solidifies, protecting itself from dangers that do not exist. In a world where connection is so easy, it is tragic that we are losing our connection with the truth. But all is not lost. The new generation always ignores the previous one. Maybe they will forget our foolishness and create a better world for themselves. What we can do for them is preserve what we have and not destroy it, if any further.